Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello. Good morning at you. Yeah. I don't sound too good, do I? Well, chances are my sister won't sound any better. Susan and I have, this must be a familial trait. It is not a particularly attractive one either. Susan, are you there?
Yes, I sound better than you.
You do.
I cleared I didn't sound better when I was called, but I cleared my throat in the meantime.
Well, I was wildly attempting it, but making all kinds of revolting noises. But it didn't seem to work anyway. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm okay, and you?
I am okay, too. So, I just want to... I know, I wasn't here yesterday. That wasn't my fault. I was abandoned by all who are capable of putting this show on...
Of turning on the machine.
That's right. So, we couldn't have a show, because I don't know how to do it. And so, I'm a little... I keep thinking today's Monday. It is not Monday. I know it is Tuesday, because Susan's here. And I just assume they'll start out, like I do on Mondays generally, a little bit easy, because it's hard to jump into heavy-duty stuff right off a lovely weekend. And so we will start with our Eagles. Susan, I haven't checked today, 2 of the 3 have, as they say, fledged. They've flown.
Yeah.
They've flown. And what's interesting is they've returned to the nest after flying, because that doesn't always happen, I guess. So they flew away. Well, the second one, they think fell out of the... I think they called it an unintentional fledge.
But he was okay?
Yeah, because he or she is big enough to do it, but he apparently tripped and fell, who knows what, all of a sudden finds himself falling through the air. And but he's been seen since back in the nest, and so he got himself uprighted and flying around. So 2 of the 3, which is already amazing, beats the odds. And number 3 looks perfectly able to fly the coop, as it were. So I got very into this thing this year, from eggs to bye, and there are people, Susan, who watch this incessantly. They're on chat.
Well, I was when they were hatching. I have to say, I spent an inordinate amount of time watching.
Wait
and then when they were little, and there were these constant dire predictions among the commenters that somebody was going to eat somebody, they're going to kill each other. It's like...
That's right. And we were warned by, eagle experts that the odds of this third one making it, not good. The odds that all 3 of these, not good. And the odds that you will see, like they'll bring, someone's house cat into the nest and it won't even be dead yet, and they'll be ripping it apart, and you could see something like that. Never happened. None of that. So, but I bring this up because there was this, and maybe you saw in the Sunday New York Times, there was this story about another camera like this on another eagle's nest like this, and this one is in Minnesota. And I must say that this one has gotten more publicity and more eyeballs than ours. But the same kind of phenomenon, with people just getting so into it, and people who never knew each other but started talking to each other because they were posting on this chat line along with the picture. Now they have a club. They're having everyone's invited who's into the Eagles. They're going to be a big party coming up at a local restaurant. And so these people found a community during this, and I think some of them are going to have a real sense of loss once this number 3 takes off and it's over, because they sort of inordinately into it. but I don't know why I'm saying that. I mean, I got into it more than most people, too. But so in Minnesota, same kind of thing is happening. Exactly. There were 3 eggs, all 3 hatched, even though people were told, we don't name these birds, we're not banding these birds, this camera is here so that you can observe nature. We do not intervene, we do not blah, blah, blah. And it didn't matter because the chat folks up there in Minnesota named all 3 little eagles Snap, Crackle, and Pop. And one day, they started on their chat line expressing concern about Snap. Snap appeared to not be eating. Snap appeared to be lethargic. Snap hadn't moved in who knows how long. And all of a sudden, the folks who put I guess it's a Minnesota Department of whatever, bird watchers, starts hearing from these people saying, Snap is sick. Something's really wrong with Snap. You got to do something. And the people where the camera was kept telling these hysterical, distraught folk that, I'm sorry, this is not what
right, we aren't there to interfere with nature. We're merely observing.
That's right. We're not going to do anything, okay? This is nature you're seeing. It ain't always pretty. You gotta do something for God's sake. They started getting threatening calls. They started getting the poor woman on the other end started fearing for her life. And then, but she held firm because she understood what they didn't, which is, I'm sorry, this is nature. Anyway, one day this woman, Ms. Nauman, gets a call. This one's from the governor's office. The governor of Minnesota calls or has someone call and says, hey, our office is being deluged by calls from distraught people all over the place who are worried about this bird. We can't be dealing with this. Do something about this. So the governor's office trumps the whole idea, and they sent some utility workers over in a cherry picker kind of truck to go up and look at Snap. And they did, and Snap, they found, had been obviously hurt, probably stepped on, they decided, by one of its parents, had a broken wing, and definitely was in bad shape, as the people had suspected. But they didn't see any chance of recovery, so they took little Snap out, and they killed him.
Yep.
Okay. So, then the people on chat...
How's that working for these folks?
Well, they acknowledged that Snap couldn't have recovered, apparently, and so had to be... And at least they had saved Snap more days of, dying horribly and slowly. So they were feeling still pretty tough. And then you see the chat room stuff. Fly high, fly free, little Snap. You taught us so much. So the people who put up these eagle cams are starting to think, maybe this is backfiring.
Right.
We
if the only lesson that people can learn about observing nature is that they should interfere, then it is backfiring.
Right. And this one person said it's almost as if they felt like it was just another app on their phone, and that by swiping or punching a little bit, they could alter what was on the
game.
Right. Yes. Well, how odd is that? Or not? It's not. Now, I'm glad to say that we didn't have that issue here, although it came close. And there were a number of times when, people just got hysterical. Obviously, when the bird fell out the other day, there were people hysterical. But then it all turned out okay. But if the idea is here is nature, folks, and then all the people who are watching want to do is stick their noses in it and fiddle with it and make it a better show for them, we got a problem. So maybe this is I hope that, and I'm mad at the...
Perhaps what should be done is that the comment line should be taken down.
Maybe so. But the Minnesota governor should not have caved and undercut these people, his own people.
No, the Minnesota governor missed an opportunity to teach.
Exactly correct. So, fly away, little snap. Fly high. I understand. You do. You look at these things. You do. I worried about the little guy. I was worried. And I knew that I was getting sucked into. It's a reality show to people. Pretty slow moving. But when something happens, they get all upset. So one of the things that happened here, and I actually agreed with, so I'm as bad as the people I'm making fun of here. Right across the river from the Eagle's Nest, Susan, is a facility that supposedly sorts through trash for recycling. Right. And whoever owned that facility went bankrupt or something. The place was just this huge vermin-infested tract of land in a neighborhood where people lived. And the people started complaining to the city that, hey, we got rats the size of raccoons here because they're all over that place and blah, blah, blah. And we need to, understandably. And so the city said, we'll take care of the problem. And they were going to move in with poison. Then the Eagle's Nest chat people heard that and freaked.
Well, because that's what you could poison the eagles.
Exactly, because the Eagles had, in fact, been bringing a lot of rats back to
That's what I was thinking when you were saying that. What a handy food source.
Exactly. There's tons of rats here. And, I don't know what happened, but obviously it all turned out okay. I never heard the upshot, but don't poison them. Set traps or something. Don't poison them because you're going to kill the little eagles. And that's odd that I don't know that I ever saw what the response was and if poison was used. But if so, it looks like everybody managed to survive. So anyway.
It probably occurred during that long period when your head was under your pillow.
You know what? That's true, actually. When I not only didn't know what was going on in the world, I didn't care. So that's the Eagle update, and we were very lucky here. This is another little lighthearted item, kinda. Smartphones, etiquette, smartphones and dinner, smartphones and eating out at a restaurant. Is there any acknowledgement of what is polite and impolite? There really isn't yet, is there? Is there?
Well, I think it's grossly impolite to pull it out at all, whenever, unless you cite special circumstances, like, you're waiting for, there's a health issue and you want to make sure you don't miss a call. But that's it.
So generally, here, and this is, they had a bunch of rules. They have 21 rules for it here. And that's rule number 1. The golden rule, nobody is allowed to look at a smartphone during dinner. Nobody, period. But because we know that's just not the way it is, and in fact, I've been known to do it. Susan, haven't you?
Yeah, but I say exactly that, and then I just place it in a, usually under my leg, so if it buzzes, I'll know to look.
Okay. It is said here that if a smartphone is set on the dinner table, it must be set face down.
Right.
Okay. And rule number 4, only parents whose small children are at home with babysitters are allowed to keep smartphones face up. The child must be under 9, and the babysitter must be recently released from prison. But we get the drift.
Yeah, I mean, there are some, as long as the technology is there, there are some valid exceptions to any rule. But no, the rule is when you're with people, you should be having conversation with them, which involves actual eye contact and full attention.
Yeah. Well, what engendered this little piece was the reporter was at a restaurant and looked over at another table at which there were 6 people, adults.
And they were all on their cell phone.
Every one of them was on their cell. I remember the first time I saw something like that. This is ages ago now. But it was 2 young people walking down the sidewalk, and they were clearly together, but they both were talking on their cell phones. And I remember, now I wouldn't even note that now. But then I remember looking at them and thinking, oh my God. So you're together, but you're not really there. And then before long, I was pretty much sucked into it too. Do you remember life the way it used to be when we didn't? This is so long ago, where there wasn't this...
Well, then you have conversations about, look at that poor couple sitting there not eating and not saying talking. One word to each other for the whole meal.
Right. But...
Of course, there is such a thing as companionable silence.
That's true, too. But I have to tell you that I think there's now almost a palpable fear, or certainly an anxiety, that most of us feel if we don't know where our phone is.
Well, that's true.
Okay. And what's that about? I mean, because we really feel that we're out of touch. We're dangerously out of touch. Something could be happening.
It used to be just wonderful to leave the house for the afternoon and know that you would simply pick up your messages when you got home.
Right.
And no one had any real expectation of reaching you, outside of a 3 or 4 hour, period.
And you know what? We were all just fine. We found things out maybe a little later. It didn't matter. But now we've already been conditioned to have to know. And
well, it doesn't take much.
I got to tell you, I mean, this will change. This will change the very nature of humanity. It will change our nature.
Well, it's already changing in the way our brains work.
Right. They also some rules they come up with. If anyone raises a question at dinner that can easily be answered,
requires a Google search.
They say only one person is allowed. You can't
No,
have
I think that's one too many. I think you ought to guess what the answer is, and you can look it up later.
All right, I'll go with that one. I think that's good. I'm an offender at that. Okay, and they just point out...
But it stops us from even trying to exercise our brains and remember and think and retrieve. And by the way, that's how we learn. So if we never actually ask our brains to retrieve any information, we aren't learning anything ever.
Well, as I said, it will change the very nature of humanity and the way our brains are wired and how we navigate the world. And rule number 14, and it's not really a rule, but it just says, everybody sees you trying to check your phone under the table. Come on. So, don't do that. And I have 2 more here. If someone takes out a smartphone to show photographs of his golfing vacation to Scotland, you are permitted to quietly watch 1 episode of Game of Thrones. I like that rule. Okay, and I have 1 more.
Or other people's grandchildren. There's a lot of other people's grandchildren.
I have to admit, I'm always showing people pictures, and I show them the picture of my shaved cat because that makes people laugh.
Well, that picture is so cute that you should be showing it.
Then I've been known to show pictures of video, and this I can tell. Most people love it, but I could tell one was thinking, okay, after about 10 seconds, that's enough. And the video's 2 minutes long, of my mother doing an impromptu dance while at Susan's house. And I think it is so funny. And most people have watched the whole thing and just roared. But, that's... I don't know. Okay, final rule. When dinner is over and you need to go home, you are allowed to use your smartphone to Uber a ride. While you are explaining what Uber is to the table, everybody is allowed to play Candy Crush for 2 minutes. Have you ever played Candy Crush?
No, I don't play
Games.
I don't even play Words with Friends.
I'll be your friend if you want to play. Except you'll beat the pants off me all the time. Really? You'll beat me all the time.
I'll have to download it.
Oh, all right. Well, no, you like word games. You would like that. It's fun. You'll get addicted immediately. Let's do it. Okay, and as a matter of fact, speaking of things we should do, we should take a break, interrupt this convivial conversation for some commercial purpose right now.
To Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Download the brand new CP Haps app and find out what's going on in Pittsburgh. It's the fun and free app that puts the most popular events at your fingertips. Text events to 77948 to download now and register to win tickets to Pittsburgh versus Arizona at PNC Park on July 2nd. The CP Haps app, brought to you by Pittsburgh City Paper.
While cutting molding with a 12-inch dual compound miter saw, while holding a newborn baby in your arms, when face-to-face with a congregation of alligators, with the ball in your hands and the entire freaking season on the line.
There are a million places you'd never consider texting. So why would you do it while driving? NASCAR driver Casey Kane here, asking you to please stop the text. And together, we can stop the wrecks.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Get the message at stoptextstopwrecks.org.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Alrighty, I want to thank Milton, who has sent me an article from the Tribune Review that says, then this is from May 7th, okay? County officials plan to try a new poison on literally thousands of rats breeding inside a Hazelwood Recycling Center because a family of bald eagles brought at least 3 rat carcasses into their nest. So they did respond. Many rat poisons can kill raptors if the birds eat prey that consume pesticides. And so with complaints from all the eagle watchers, the Allegheny County Health Department immediately said it would then approve a safe extermination plan for the rats. Isn't that nice? So the fact that the eagle people did say, hey, wait a minute, that's where all their food's coming from. You can't... And then it's good to know that,
that there are better environmental ways, sound ways to do things.
In general, yeah. Why ever use ones that are going to potentially kill not the animals you want to kill? So anyway... that's not the same level of interference that we're talking about in Minnesota?
No, because you aren't approaching the nest. You're trying not to do harm. Given that somebody already was going to interfere with nature taking its course, but then I would argue that isn't even this, because this was nature reacting to a man-made problem. And then man not liking the way nature reacted.
Right.
So, that's a whole separate ecosystem of its own. And the fact that you got them to deal with an environmental issue of vermin, which we are going to do anyway, right?
Yes.
Then to do it in a safer way is a good thing.
Yes. Absolutely agree.
Totally distinguishable.
Okay. Mike in Philly writes, my wife and I have a rule when we go out to dinner. You leave the phone in the car. We are both Candy Crush addicts. Is that a fun game? It sounds like a child's game. What is it? I don't know how you... You know when you download...
I don't know. Someone invited me to play the other day, and I ignored them.
You mean you can play with other people? You just play it by yourself?
Apparently.
Okay, well, poor Mike and his wife are both now in a 12-step program for Candy Crush addicts and cannot sleep at night until they have both played at least 15 minutes before, going to sleep. He says his wife is only allowed to play for 30 minutes at a time in the car. But when she plays, I have complete control of the radio. It's a trade-off, says Mike. Also, Mike says you might not ever want to say to people, hey, let me show you a picture of my shaved pussy.
Hey.
I knew Susan would not like that. But
I don't think that's what you said.
Well, I do have a shaved pussy cat. Susan.
Yes.
I know. Susan does not approve. Okay? And I almost didn't, but then I thought, that is funny. So, and it's a line, in fact, I might use the next time I show somebody my picture. Susan would suggest I not.
I'd stick with cat.
What? Jeez. Okay. Here's a riot. Did you see this story? Oh, here we go. Excuse me. Okay. Did you see the story? Every single senior executive at the Department of Veterans Affairs nationally received a rating over, I guess they're rated every year. Every year for the last 4 years, every single one of them were judged to be fully successful at their jobs or even better.
Well, good. They grew up in Lake Wobegon.
That's right, exactly right. 65% of these VA execs received performance awards on top of being told that they were exemplary, which is to say they also got bonuses, which averaged out to $9,000 for the year. Now, given the news that we're seeing about the Veterans Administration, this just adds insult to injury.
Well, it does, but can I point out that this has been going on for decades?
What, incompetence or just the VA incompetence?
Incompetence, long waits. The VA, in some places maybe, but in most places, the VA hospital, a doctor's posting to a VA hospital was not necessarily the cream of the crop. At least in St. Louis, they were going to Washington University Medical, or St. Louis U Medical.
So you're saying that even when
or St. Luke, so there's been a long history of underfunding the VA.
Exactly right. And
you get what you pay for.
Who especially is always on the side of underfunding every agency, except the military. That would be Republicans. So that
this is a consequence of the military. This is the military.
This is the military. You guys keep making wars. That makes veterans. And then as soon as these poor guys get back, you say, F you.
Did you notice, did you see that somebody noticed that there were fewer than, something like 40% of the VA hospitals even had a gynecologist on staff?
Ha! Well, what would they need a gynecologist for since soldiers are guys?
Apparently.
Well, that would be correct. Well, what you were saying is that, even though you could die waiting to see a doctor at the VA, and I don't mean to malign all doctors at the VA, but what you're saying is that even when you finally get a doctor, it could be somebody who wasn't the greatest. But that can happen anywhere.
That can happen anywhere.
There's bad doctors all over the place.
Oh, and which leads me to, just so you know how bad things can get in Missouri.
Misery. That we've changed the pronunciation. Misery.
It is. It's Missouri.
Okay.
Now in Missouri, there's a law in the attempting to make its way through our state legislature, which would allow certified medical school graduates. I don't know what that must mean, that they passed their initial exams. And did 1 year of internship, can now just start up practice in low-income urban or underserved urban areas or rural areas.
Caller?
After watching them for 30 hours.
Okay, Suze, I hear that. Because, after all, why would poor people need good doctors? Do we have a caller?
Yes.
Hi.
Oh, I just wanted to say that the VA was originally just for veterans that were hurt in wars, the injuries that related to war.
Yeah.
It's become a catch-all for all health problems, which it should never have been. It should have always been for the war injuries. That's why we got the problem we have today. I don't believe somebody, just because they were a veteran in 4 years and they've never served in a war, should get any type of health care. I believe it should be for war-related injuries and health problems. That's how I see it, and that's why we're in the predicament we are now.
Okay. Well, I can't. Thank you. I can't attest to the fact that the original mission was, as you said, only the VA will exist.
I think he was right. It was created to treat the wounded warriors.
Okay, but somehow.
But then, especially during Vietnam, that got a little bit more diffuse because the kind of injury wasn't showing up, like Agent Orange and stuff like that.
Right. Well, I don't.
And then it got even more complicated when we added the concept that the brain and trauma to the brain was actually part of the body and needed to be treated, and we had things like, traumatic stress disorder and all that stuff, which is creating havoc. But I do agree. There are a whole group of veterans that did not have any side effects and that used the VA because it was more convenient or it was free and perhaps that was the only health care they had.
Exactly.
And if we had universal health care anyway, then we wouldn't have this problem in the Veterans Administration.
That's right.
So we wouldn't need it, would we?
That's right. Our refusal as a political entity to take care of our messed up health care system it just keeps popping up forward, backward, and inside out. It's not like there aren't models all over the world where people are provided good care. Everybody. This country drives me crazy in this respect. Just drives me crazy. We're a wonderful country in so many ways. Our people are wonderful in so many ways. The diversity of this nation, the energy of this nation, so wonderful. But we are horribly immature, I think. Just like children, like a bunch of kids. And we refuse to deal with reality. It reminds me of what I heard my son say once when he was young to a friend. He pointed out the clothes chute, and he said, "This is so neat. You throw your dirty clothes down here into this little door, and they come back all clean and folded."
Well, he was making a joke, right?
Maybe, but to his mind, I don't know. I think that's how we are as citizens. This is so...
It's a miracle. It just happens, and it doesn't cause anybody any cost, time, or labor.
Yeah, it just happens that I can drink the water and not die. It just happens that I can get on an airplane and actually feel reasonably assured I will get to my destination. It just happens that there happens to be a road so I can drive where I want to be, and the road is drivable, and there's a bridge over, a river, and that... What do people think? How do people think?
I'd be careful about those bridges.
Well, that's true, and because again,
we know what people think.
People will not fund these unglamorous things like keeping our infrastructure in good shape. It's sort of like people who will spend a lot of money redoing their dining room, let's say, but they can't bear to spend the money on the roof, or because that's not anything you want to show somebody. It's not sexy. It's not, but it's more important. I just think we don't, as a people, there are too many Americans who literally don't understand why they're supposed to pay taxes. They literally don't get it.
They don't get it.
And then they want government out of their lives. But as soon as government is taken out of their lives, or they get a dose of government out of their lives in a way that, well, frankly, they hadn't realized that was government doing all that, they scream bloody murder. They always want government to fix everything, and yet they don't want government. And who's supposed to pay for it? Who's paying for it? The fairy godmother? What the hell are you idiots thinking?
Well, I just always very calmly ask, some of those people that I end up, called into a conversation like this with, and I ask them exactly, take them down that road exactly. I say, if you need a new roof, you got a hole in your roof, it's leaking into your nice dining room, do you put a new roof on? Yes. And I said, and if your car breaks down and it needs a new tire, do you get a new tire? Oh, of course. And I said, so if the road that you're driving on gave your car that pothole because there's no more money to fix the road, whose responsibility is that to fix that? Is this your community, or is it somebody else's community? Is it your home, or is it somebody else's home? And they just look at me. I said, there is no difference. This is your home.
But I don't drive Route 19. Never have. Oh.
We have totally lost the sense of what community is.
That's right.
And how it is defined, and how our lives in this country are a series of increasingly larger concentric circles, all of which are defined as our community and end up, at the end of the world.
Yep. Well, see, and you know why that, the problem there, Susan? Just watch, I'm going to get her goat. The educational system. Why, if we still taught civics...
it's just another thing that people don't see why they should pay for.
If we taught civics, people would
I agree, and I used to laugh at civics, but all I can say is since they stopped teaching it, we've gone down the drain.
Right. So here, I want to ask you, I was going through some old tapes, came upon this thing where I walked around downtown and I walk up to some poor unsuspecting soul and say, hey, say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to do that to you right now. Let's see if you can do it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic upon which it stands, one nation, parenthetically, under God, wait a minute, one nation, indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
No, I think that was not quite right. For once, you use the word upon, it's not in there. It's for.
Oh, for which it stands.
For which it stands. Now, wait, and I think you might have bungled the end. But here's why we don't know it. When did you ever say it? You said it when you were in school.
Elementary school.
And then you
said it... for a while, we said it at board meetings until I became board president and stopped it.
You commie. So, but that's true. So sometimes if you belong to like a Rotary Club and they start out with that or something. But, okay, most people don't say it. Let me see if I can do it. I pledge allegiance...
Well, no fair. You watched it, you read it, and you listened to me.
I still don't know if I can. Because we also take cue... You don't say it alone.
No, you say it as a group, and you can waltz right through it.
That's right, because you just pick up everybody else. It's sort of like the Star-Spangled Banner is the same way. Asked to do that one on your own, most people can't. Okay, but let me try. I pledge allegiance to the flag. You know, if you stop and think about that, why are we pledging to a flag? Who cares? What does that mean?
Right.
Okay, I don't want to pledge allegiance. That's idolatry. I pledge allegiance to a flag? Okay, here we go. I pledge allegiance to this scrap of cloth of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands. One nation?
Yep.
Under God?
Yep.
Indivisible?
Yep.
With liberty and justice for all.
Right. And the under God is parenthetical because it was not in the original pledge. It was added in the 50s.
It was added in the 50s when I had already, as a little kindergartner, learned the pledge, and then they said, this just in, the pledge you have is no longer the pledge. We are inserting the words under God right here. So I used to say the pledge with, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that was good enough for America until the McCarthy era. When we said, all right, well, we just want to make clear that we ain't commies around here, and this nation is under God. Okay, so we all had to relearn it. Jesus. Okay, try the Star Spangled Banner.
I got to sing it. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, or the rampart which we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
She's acing
oh,
it.
say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You nailed that. Way to go.
Yeah.
Most people can't do that either, Suze. Although that they get...
And I even started out low enough that I could do it.
I know. It was very impressive. That was very impressive. All right. Well,
I didn't stand up.
Do you know, speaking of... Oh, never mind. I have to get another break in here. And all you people who think, well, I know that pledge. I know that. Try it. By yourself. All by yourself later today. And see if you can... Of course, there's no one there to say, that's not right. That's not right. But the odds are you can't do it. Except my audience, of course, is brilliant and probably can. But most people, We'll be right back.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Check out my new time machine.
Does it work?
Hit the button.
Hey, it's Napoleon.
Oui. Check out the future.
Hey, you have a nice house. Why don't I?
You didn't save any money, buddy.
If only there was a way I could go back in time and fix that.
Yeah.
Save something for the future. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Pick up the Pittsburgh City Paper today. Still the #1 source for weekend fun in the Burgh. Go online now at pghcitypaper.com to vote in the 2014 Best of Pittsburgh Readers Poll and type in promo code CPJATIX for your chance to win Jason Aldean tickets. Vote now before it's too late. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
That's right, and Lynn Cullen's sister, Suzanne. So, Suze.
Yes?
I mean, I don't know if people find this obnoxious, but we do have one story about our mother to tell.
Oh, well, of course we do.
Oh, that's just too good a story. So, here, our mom, and we do talk about her, who will be 92 in about a month and a half. She did something this weekend that, well, I think it's relatively unusual. My brother's 50th high school reunion occurred. The Green Bay East High class of 64 was meeting. And my brother was not going to it. But my mother happened to bump into...
But only, not because he didn't want to. He was prevented by another
engagement that he had to go to. And so my mother happened to bump into a woman who had been in his class who had flown in to go to the reunion. And my mother said to her, "Hey, Phyllis, could I go with you?" And I think Phyllis was taken aback. But Mom wore her down. And so my mom went to my brother's 50th reunion. And when she checked in at the registration desk, they for her name tag, she just had Bill Miller's mom. And apparently, she was the life of the party. People went bonkers with her there, and showed up in a lot of the pictures. What's funny is I wonder if some people will say,
"Who was that lady?"
Yeah, right. Boy, she didn't age very well, did she? Because, I mean,
Boy,
she's got to be 20.
You don't know. She might look better than some of those
She might
folks.
look better than a few. But anyway, she just had a ball. And she finally had it out with the woman. When my brother was here, when Susan and Bill were both on the show, and Bill told that story about our parents trying to metaphorically and literally bury his sexuality when he was a teen, how when he was starting to get very, he was in love with a cheerleader named Ellen Hickok, and she had big bazooms, and my parents were freaked that their little boy was maybe going to lose his virginity. And so Bill told a story of how my father took the family limousine used in the
bereaved family limousine
from a funeral home he had an interest in. And so we were put in this limousine with my mom and dad in the front seat that had glass so that they couldn't even hear us. Bill, Susan, and I were
screaming, "Let us out! Let us out!"
Mom, Bill's there! No, Susan, cut it out! So the three of us are in the back. It was the most nightmarish family vacation ever in the history of family vacations. And it was all because Bill had the hots for Ellen Hickok. They wanted to get him out of her clutches. So who organized the reunion? None other than Ellen Hickok. So my mom, Ellen Hickok, sees Bill Miller's mom there, and she just said to my mom, "Why didn't you like me?" And my mother, who usually doesn't mince words, thank God, did not say, "I thought you were a slut." She said, "I was frightened, I think, of your sexuality." Whatever. They had it
Which
out.
was true.
Right. It was true. It was true. It was true. But it was Ellen who just fell in love with Mom. So they've reconciled. Isn't that wonderful? They have reconciled 55 years later.
It just shows that the things that we remember are remembered by others, too, and it's never too late.
What? To say, I'm sorry,
talk
I was
about
such an
things
idiot.
that if it had that kind of an impact on your life, might have had that kind of an impact on the other person's life, too.
Yeah. So, what else we got here?
Anyway, and so Ellen was moved to write a very cute email to our brother, but that was...
Yeah. So, who knows anyway, Anyway, I invited Mom to my 50th high school reunion, and that'll be coming up in 2 years.
Yeah, that one will be a life... to see the... If Pat Parrish, Robin Deutsch, Lynn Cullen... Heidi Miller. Who were the other people that you were doing the?
Lynn Thielens, Judy Reimer, all those girls, all those women. That was such. As a matter of fact, Bill, our brother, said, "You know what? I think I might want to go to yours."
I think I might want to go to yours too.
We had a class with so many great women in it. Not men, not boys, but boy, there's just one great woman after another, and we did all kinds of outrageous things. So it's a great...
One was funnier than the next. It was scary to be in a room with them.
What fun. So I said, "Mom, I'll take you to my reunion," because everyone will love to see her, so she'll come to mine. And you can come too, Suze. Everybody can... You're all invited.
I'd rather go to yours than mine.
You know what's freaky? I think I remember when Mom went to her 50th. I know I do.
I do.
I know, but now we are. Oh, dear God, what's happening? Okay.
Time marches on.
It sure does. It sure does. Okay, so, Susan, there was a bit of a kerfuffle here in Pittsburgh over the weekend because, just to give a little context, last year, Kenny Chesney, you know the name?
Yes.
Do you know the name?
This is a Kenny Chesney story?
Kinda. Not really. Kenny Chesney, you know, is a country western singer.
He's a country singer.
Country singer. And he had a concert at the Heinz Field football stadium. And all the Chesney guys, fans, were there. And they literally trashed the place. I mean, it took, I don't know how many hours. I mean, there was like, it was really disgusting what they did. And this year, I just say that because the city was so flipped out with the Chesney concert. But now this year, somebody named, this shows how out of it I am, Luke Bryan. Do you know him?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, he must be big because he's also a country singer. Luke Bryan was playing Heinz Field, and that was Saturday night. And while it didn't happen quite as badly as it had with Chesney, I guess nowhere near as badly, it's still, the city was trashed. And the mayor said, this has got to stop. Why do the taxpayers end up, we have to clean this up? And that's not right. But what I want to know is, listen to this. So at this concert this weekend, Susan, Pittsburgh police arrested 7 people, broke up 15 fights, answered 154 calls to 911. City medics responded to 100 calls to 911 and transported 34 people to hospitals. Now, here's what I want to know. Why is this just country fans that do this? There's rock concerts when I don't think this level of craziness happens. What's with this all white bread, all American, white audience? What is with that? Can you imagine if a black hip hop group played Heinz Field and we read in the paper the next day that police broke up 15 fights and answered all these calls to 911, everybody wouldn't immediately say, well, those people. Right? But in fact, that doesn't happen with mostly African-American concerts. It doesn't happen. What is with these people? You got to figure the vast majority of country and western fans are not pigs, that they're good people, that they don't litter, that they don't get drunk to the point of ending up in the hospital or in jail. The evidence seems to suggest otherwise. Well, that's what I'm wondering. What's going on? What is going on? And then it turns out, just from a public safety point of view and public finances point of view, that there's no way the city should be paying for this crap.
Why aren't they requiring an insurance rider, which is going to cost someone a fortune, to pay for cleanup?
Yeah, and they say
cleanup and damage
in Philadelphia, the city bills
or they just flat out bill them for it.
They bill for special event services, including sanitation, and in Cleveland requires the organizers and promoters to foot the bill for everything. And
I know that we have things, for the big events around here where promoters are required to pay for police overtime, are required to pay. They cover it because you can't do these huge things and just have the resources of the city depleted on other people's enjoyment.
No.
And not be able to plow the streets in the winter.
What's with you, flag-waving, country-singing white folk?
Well, maybe it ties into what we were talking about before. They don't understand that somebody has to come along and clean up what they're just throwing away.
Well, since most of those people are not taxpayers in the city, believe me, but I am. I don't. Why should I pick up after you?
Well, there should be a hefty charge, built into the ticket price to clean up after them.
That's correct. I think there were lawsuits stemming from the Kenny Chesney concert. I mean, that thing, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, the mess. Beyond belief. And I also want to point out another thing. I happened to hear an interview. We just had our Pride Fest, Gay Pride Parade and all this stuff, and that was a whole weekend. And there were 100,000 people downtown during that whole event. And there was nothing to clean up. Do you know that those gay people set up all their own stuff? And one of the main promoters said that he was still doing cleanup at 5 a.m. the next day. That they had volunteers who cleaned everything up and left nothing. Those terrible gay people. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Well, at what part about take responsibility for your mess don't you get? I mean, at what point did people forget that, do not litter?
Oh, God. Around here, I don't know that they ever learned that. Not to mention, don't spit on the sidewalk. Okay, I defy, says Mike, most anyone to even start the second stanza of the Star-Spangled Banner. And to that I say, Mike, there's a second stanza? I think I knew there was.
Yeah, I know there is, but I don't know it.
Well, it's probably equally incomprehensible.
Well, and let's be honest, no football game would make it through the second stanza, so they had to cut.
Well, no, and I mean, it must be an idiotic thing. Mike, another...
It's like all the stanzas of God Bless America.
Right. Hey, is anyone other than people named Mike emailing me today? Because every one of these are from Mike, and they're not all the same guy. It's very odd. Here's another Mike. Lynn... Oh, you're a little late there. Lynn, any thought on the Pittsburgh Luke Bryan concert fiasco? Mike, yeah. I guess I didn't see that. Yes, we just talked about that. Sorry. Oh, here's something that's not good. Not good. Do you know that in the Northeast, that would be us, most adults now live within a short drive of a gambling casino. I mean, a casino. There are so many...
That's right.
There are so many casinos now. And guess what, guys? This is not good. This is not good. Here's what they have found. They've done some research now that there's a casino on every corner. There is evidence of the exploitative effects of casino gambling on lower-income Americans. Yes. So this is another way to keep the poor and have them underwrite all that's the stuff we've been talking about, the taxes create. Have them underwrite this stuff way out of proportion to their ability to pay. Living within 10 miles of a casino more than doubles the rate of problems from excessive gambling. Also, women and the elderly have become much more likely to gamble because of their preference for non-skill slot machine gambling. They can just keep pulling that arm and then they've actually, you think these casinos don't do the psychological studies where they know that to keep somebody to keep giving the casinos their money. They do know that after a while, winning doesn't even matter to people who are just sitting there sticking coins in. It almost becomes an immersive action where they don't care so much about winning as that they simply need to continue to play. So their heads shut off, and the slot machines are programmed, in case you didn't know, to achieve this sort of soporific effect where people act against their own interests. So they are carefully regulated so that there's a certain rhythm, tempo, and
and that's why they don't like you to have to physically put the coin in anymore.
You don't?
You feed in, you feed in a certain number of credits, and then you can cash out. But that if they've taken, you don't have to do anything except press a button, which you end up quite right. Just your finger does it without even being told to do it.
Well, it says casinos actually gather information on their customers' worth, as well as their predicted lifetime value to the casino. And also, they know that one of the ways this article calls casinos the slot machines computerized pickpockets. And they know how to play you. They know.
I'm sure they do.
And you do not win. Oh yeah, somebody wins every once. They know exactly how many people can win. But believe me, you don't win. Computerized pickpockets, which are this is the state of Pennsylvania, the government of the state of Pennsylvania allowing this pickpocketing, especially a poor.
Well, it's a rather ingenious redistribution of wealth scam, and as usual, it hits the people that can afford it least.
That's correct.
I mean, if you go into these things, you see senior citizens lined up.
Right.
Most of them, I have to admit, are only playing the penny slots, but even so.
That adds up. That adds up. Okay, Roger writes, and we got to shut up, Susan, we're out of time. The reason for the violence at these country music concerts, conservative Christian, right-wing Republican, straight, white, American males. Well, he might be right there because they're drinking.
Yeah, I actually thought of saying that and then thought, I'll be careful. But, yeah, exactly.
Roger says, dang, if we had an open carry law in this state, they could have shot each other at the concert, too, and sort of gotten rid of something. But that's right. Those are those straight, white, American, beer-slugging Republicans. God help us. Okay, that's it. That's it. Susan, thank you very much. You be in touch with me today.
Yeah, I will. Check your phone.
I will. Bye. Bye, you guys. Jared Day, Daily News Nuggets, doing his monthly visit tomorrow. Tom Sokolowski Thursday. Chris Potter Friday. Oh, I have so many gentlemen callers. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.